right, so what we've been working on has been proportion solving for unknowns. What we're going to be looking at now is actual word questions dealing with ratio and proportion. Okay, again, the easiest way to do it also is to actually work with questions together because you'll see patterns amongst questions and that makes it easier for you. So first of all, when working with word questions, it is important. Notice that's a different color. That means that's important. It's important to make sure that you have the various items in the ratios matched up with the proportions on each side. Okay, so that's really important because if you don't have them matched up, it doesn't matter what arithmetic you do, you're going to be wrong. Okay, so it's really important to match it up. So let's take a look at our first question. You notice it looks like it's pretty blank, but at the same time on this page, there's a lot of information that we have to get from this question. Okay, so the first thing it says is a bronze statue is made from a mixture of tin and copper in a ratio of 5 to 2. Okay, it says if you require 200 kilograms of bronze for a project, how much tin and copper are required? Okay, so there's a few different things going on here. They're talking about tin and copper, but they're also talking about bronze. Now, bronze, if you notice, isn't in this ratio. The tin and copper are. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to look at the ratio that I've been given. And what I've been given here has been that I have tin and copper in the ratio of 5 to 2. So tin and copper is what's being compared. Okay, so they list tin first. That's what I need to do because the 5 goes with the tin, the 2 goes with the copper. So exactly the way it's listed with English. So the next thing I talked about was this bronze. Now, actually what happens is when I put tin and copper together, it creates a mixture that we call bronze. Okay, so bronze isn't something by itself. It's made up of tin and copper. Okay, so now what I need to do is they've given me this ratio of 5 to 2, which is great, but I'm not quite sure I'm supposed to do with the bronze. So let's take a little closer look at it. So I do know that if I actually take the 5 to 2 is the tin, the copper. Notice I have another thing here. Now the reason I have something here is because of this bronze. This bronze is going to be the amount here. So if I put 5 parts and 2 parts together, how many parts do I have in total? Well, that would be the total number of parts of bronze. So in this, using this ratio of 5 to 2, what I have is an amount of 7, right? 5 plus 2 is 7. So this will always be true, okay? Now the question asks, how much tin am I going to need and how much copper am I going to need if I want to have 200 kilograms of bronze, right? So this one's a little bit different in the sense that they didn't give us, sorry, they didn't give us um, oops, they didn't give us the 7. We had to calculate it. Okay, so now it's set up exactly like we were doing the last day together. And I need to find the relationship. Okay, the first number goes with the first number here. Okay, and I don't know what that is. The 2 has to go with, sorry, it has to go with the second number. And obviously the 7 is going to go with the 200. So I do know enough information between the 7 and the 200. In fact, what I can do is I actually can go, remember if I'm going this way, I'm multiplying, so I could literally go 200 divided by 7. And when I do that, I get 28.57. And just to make sure, up comes our calculator again. So 200 divided by 7, so we end up with 28.57, and it's actually in the irrational number. It goes on forever. So there we have that. So I know that going between 7 times 28.57, I get 200. So the same thing is going to be true then if I want to figure out the number of tin, right? I'm going to multiply it by the same relationship, and the same thing is true in order to find the copper. Now, because these numbers are a little bit larger, what I'm going to do is sometimes on a word question, I actually put, okay, tin I'm finding. So the tin equals the 5 times the 28.57. I bring up my calculator again, and I go 5 times the 28.57, and up comes the answer of 142.85. Okay, so I write that down. Okay, the same is going to be true with the copper. I'm going to take its ratio of 2 and multiply it by the 28.57. And when I do that, I end up with 57.14. Okay, so this question is different in the sense that they're taking the ratio and they're creating something else. So we're almost finished. I have to put a therefore statement. So therefore, you need 142.85 kilograms of tin and 57.14 kilograms of copper, right? So the next question has two parts. Now let's take a look at this question a little bit closer. It says concrete is made from a mixture of sand, gravel, and cement in a volume ratio of 10 to 30 to 12. Okay, so it gives me 3 in my ratio here. It says determine how much of each product is needed if 40 shovels of sand are used. All right, so let's see how this question is a little bit different than the last one. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I have sand, gravel, and cement. So that's an awful lot of writing. So I am actually going to, as soon as I find it, I'm going to actually assign letters to them. And the letters I'm going to use, so I'm going to use S for sand, G for gravel, and C for cement. Okay, because if I put all those together, I get concrete. Okay, so just like the other question, if I put all the things together, I get bronze. Okay, so when I look at this now, I have the ratio of sand to gravel to cement. Okay, now they tell me that that ratio of sand to gravel to cement is 10 to 30 to 12. So I'm going to write that down. So 10 to 30 to 12. Okay, and my proportion that we're setting up, they tell me that I have 40 shovels of sand. Well, sand, we use the letter S, so S is the first position, so I'm going to put 40 there. I do not know, okay, the amount of gravel, and I do not know the amount of cement, okay? So that is what they're asking me to find. So when I do that now, again, I'm looking for a relationship that I can find. And the first goes with the first. Oh, amazing. 10 times 4 equals 40. So I have the relationship. That one was easy. So, excuse me. Therefore, I should be able to do the exact same thing here and actually find the relationship between everything. So if I take the 30 and I multiply it by 4, I should get this answer. So 30 times 4 is going to be 120. Oops. 120, and that's not saved that way. It's saved a different way. Isn't that funny? Don't worry about it. It is 120, and I know that 12 times 4 is going to be 48. Okay, and just to finish this question up, again, I need a therefore statement. So up comes my therefore statement. Therefore, you need 120 units of gravel and 48 units of cement. Okay, there's a part B here, and let's take a look at the part B. The part B says determine how much of each product is needed if 50 cubic meters of concrete is required for the job. Well, let's take a look. Concrete. Well, concrete, oh, this one is like the bronze one. There's the concrete. It's made up of these three items. So that's the first thing that I have to do. So I know that I have sand plus gravel plus cement is going to equal, put together, is going to create concrete. Okay, so when I look at this question, I know that my sand is 10 parts. My gravel is 30 parts. My cement is 12 parts. So how much concrete does that make? Well, 10 plus 30 plus 12. And if we literally bring that up, if you didn't do that in your head, so let's do, so 10 plus 30, so we have 40 plus 12, and so we end up with 52. So that equals 52. Okay, and the reason it does is that concrete equals 10 plus 30 plus 12. Now the relationship that I want to find now is I want to know how much sand, how much gravel, how much cement in order to have 50 cubic meters of concrete. So I need to find the relationship between the 50 and the 42. Okay, so what do I multiply 52 by to get 50? Okay, well, obviously it should be less than 1, so we can calculate that, and if we do that, we do 50 divided by 52, and we get this answer. So you just type 50 divided by 52, and you'll get that. So what I need to do then is 52 times that number gives me 50. And let's just try to make sure that I did that correctly. So I'm saying that if I take 52 and I multiply it by decimal 9615, I get 50. And if you notice that, we'll round to 50. So that's correct. So I can do the exact same thing to these other items. Now, notice what happens, and I'm going to use the magic pen here. If I start putting lines everywhere, it actually gets to be very crowded on your page, and it's really hard to see what's going on. So I often opt for doing it down here. So my sand, I know, is going to be equal to the decimal 9615 times the 10 parts. When I do that, multiply that together, that's what I end up for my answer. The same thing is going to be for the gravel. I'm going to take the decimal 9615, multiply it by 30, and end up getting 28.845 cubic meters. And finally, my cement, I'm also going to take that relationship of decimal 9615 and multiply it by 12 parts for my final answer of 11.538 cubic meters. Okay, so this question was very similar to the bronze question in the sense that the items added together created something else. So to finish this question off, we also need to have a therefore statement, and therefore you would need 9.15 cubic meters of sand, there's your gravel, and there's your cement. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing some word questions yourself. Okay, so most of them are created the same way using the same principles. Okay, if you're unsure, make sure that you're asking me when I'm around to your group.